Hey, I'm Marty Schupak for Schupak Sports. Welcome to this session. It's a pre-T-ball session for parents and coaches of 3 and 4-year-old boys and girls. I'm going to go over a number of drills, probably 4 or 5, and one kind of an advanced drill. I'm also going to share my 30 years of coaching experience, trying to put your son or daughter or your players in a position to succeed, especially at this young age, 3 and 4 years old, where a lot of things are happening and there's a lot of disparity between one child and another child. And I'm going to try to calm your fears while at the same time show you different drills that your kids will and could enjoy. I'm going to give you some hints. Let's start right in. And by the way, if you like this, please subscribe to Schupak Sports. And if you can, give me a thumbs up and make a comment. Love to read all the comments. And I went over this last time. And what I usually do, the technique is I hold up the drill and I describe it. Here, what I'm doing is this is what I call the multiple object throw. And all I'm doing is I'm taking different objects like a ball. This is like a teddy bear, another ball, and this is like a yarn ball. All right. I'm using objects. I want the young 3 and 4 year olds to get used to throwing not just balls, but different objects too. And you could use bean bags also. Now remember, 3 and 4 year old kids, you could try to have them throw it straight, but the object is going to go all over the place, okay? But one of the things you could do is you could put a target like a cone right in front of them. And what this is going to do, it's going to help steady the head, which will alleviate some of the really wild throws. At the 3 and 4 year old age, I don't want you to be overly concerned with their technique. Just have them throw the different objects, okay? And the benefit is they're feeling different objects. They're going through the process of throwing. Each object weighs a little bit differently, okay? So that's one thing. So let me hold it up again, and it's the multiple object throw. Okay, you could do it in your backyard. You could do it in an urban environment at a park. Make sure there are no people around. Okay, let's go to the second drill. And I started doing this. If you're like me, where your kids, and probably your first kids, are just getting to the age where they might be interested, or you want them to be interested in sports. I know my oldest son, I couldn't wait to get him out of the crib and onto the baseball field, okay? I was kind of overzealous, and I'm sure some of you are, but I don't think there's really anything wrong with that as long as you don't overdo it, okay? You want to expose them to as many activities and drills as you can. And I started doing this with all my kids. If you look at it, it's called the bubble hit. And what I did is I kind of introduced them to hitting with something they like. All kids, especially kids at this age, 3 and 4 years old, they love bubbles. So what I did is I took the bubbles, I started blowing it. I gave my son and then later my daughter one of these big red bats. I highly recommend you have a couple of these. They're either red or the yellow. You see them at all these big box stores, or even in some of the Home Depot stores. They have a great item. And I started blowing bubbles, and they had to hit the bubbles. We're exposing the kids. It's an achievable activity, and they're going to have a lot of enthusiasm. Now, when you as a parent, when you start blowing bubbles, make sure you start backing up, because as they start swinging, they're going to get right on top of you. All right. Remember, I'm going to use this term a lot of times. There are no style points in this drill. By that, I mean you don't have to worry about how they're holding the bat, how they're swinging, and if whether they're hitting or missing. You just want them to have fun at this age, and this is a great activity. I've even used like a tennis racket Or you could even use like an old kitchen spatula if you could sneak it out of the kitchen without anyone seeing it. All right. Remember, if you're a parent, you want to go low and you always want to move backwards. All right. Remember, that's the bubble head. A lot of fun. And a lot of these drills, keep in mind, these kids, I'm going to show you one similar to the bubble head right here. These kids, their attention span is very short. Okay. So you can't spend 15 minutes or half hour on any of these drills. It's got to be a short period of time. Now, keep in mind too, talking about kids and how they progress at this age, you have to remember that this usually, not all the time, the smaller kids in stature, all right, at the 3 and 4 year old age are usually the better athletes. Now, parents of larger kids, don't be overly concerned, okay, because kids progress differently. There are a lot of kids that are big kids at a young age, and they end up becoming really good athletes. Okay, keep that in mind. Don't get discouraged as a parent. Okay, I always use the kid next door theory, where your son could be 6 years old, the kid next door could be 5, but the kid next door could be hitting a ball better than your kid. And a lot of times it's not the kids that are concerned about it or worry, it's the parents. Don't be overly concerned. Again, kids develop at different paces. I've seen it happen. I've seen kids, they don't even lift a bat to 13 and 14. They become very good athletes. Similar to the bubble hit, and I've done this, is the balloon hit. It's just like the bubble hit, and it's good for hand-eye coordination. You blow up balloons. I blow them up at different sizes, and I just float them up, and I want to see how many of the balloons my son or daughter could hit. Okay. Remember, like I said, there are no style points in this. Okay, this is the balloon hit, and I showed you the bubble hit. All right, now, if you're going to end up beginning to get into coaching, all right, I want you to get into the habit, if you are working with your local league, and I don't care what the sport is, get in the habit of having a parents' meeting at the beginning of every season. I didn't do it the first 5 years I coached. And I want to tell you the difference when I began to have a parents' meeting from when I didn't have a parents' meeting is like night and day. You're not going to cut out all the complaints, but you're going to cut out a good majority of them, like 55 to 65% of the complaints. So if you're coaching, get into the habit of having a parents' meeting. Now, I also want to mention too, you're a parent of a young player, all right? And I just gave the analogy of the kid next door who's a year younger, but hitting and maybe throwing the ball better. If a young child has an older brother or sister that's an athlete, there's a good chance they're at a stage in their progression will be ahead of another child that doesn't have an older brother or sister. So keep an eye on that too. That's why a lot of times I know when I coached, I love to get younger brothers or sisters on my team. If I had their older brothers and sisters, or if they were on other teams, because I knew they would have been progressed a little bit faster than some of the other kids too. All right, so that's a hint for you. When you start putting your son and daughter on a tee, and I've showed you in the last video about the beach ball, we put a plunger into a batting tee, we put a beach ball on top of it. You want to make the goal achievable. A lot of kids will turn their head right before they hit it. And it's just like you heard your whole life, keep your eye on the ball. It holds true at T-ball. And what I start to do is when you get down to the smaller ball, I put an animal sticker on there. I don't know if you could see it. I'll hold it a little close. I think this is an elephant. Okay. And what this does, it's helping the player keeping their eye on the ball. And really, the drill, it's simplifying a focal point for the T-ballers to swing at, or the pre-T-ballers, if you want to get them out like 3 or 4 years old. You could use anything. You could use fruit stickers. You could use colored stickers. But I found that that animal stickers work the best. Okay, so this is the animal sticker, T-ball target hitting. And what we do is to get the kids to focus on the ball, all right, by following the player. Okay, now I just also want to mention, you want to use different techniques if you begin coaching T-ball to teach the kids the concept of the game of baseball and softball. One of the things I did, I found that I had some players on my team, you try to teach them to run to first base, second base, and third base, and I'll tell you, in T-ball or pre-T-ball, running the base is an adventure. A kid will hit the ball, go out of the batter's box. Sometimes they'll go right to third base. I've seen them go right to second base. What I did is I spray painted two drop down bases, one red and one blue. Some kids learn the color of the American flag and they'll understand that concept. So I put the red drop down base on top of first base. I'd keep second base the way it is white, and the third base, I'd put the blue drop down base on it. So it'd be red, white, and blue. And this worked with a lot of kids. They were able to follow it. So it's a technique you might want to try. Okay, the next drill, and then we're going to get to the advanced drill, which really isn't really that advanced. This is what I call the one bounce, two bounce drill. And it's a great drill I did with all my kids. You take them to the school, or if you have a spot somehow in your driveway, you probably don't. We're combining motor skills and listening and thought process. We're taking a ball and we're throwing it against the wall, and we're telling our son and daughter that we're going to yell out a number like 1 or 2. If we yell out 1, they have to try to, I'm going to say catch the ball, but at 3 and 4 years old, they don't have to catch it. All they have to do is make contact with the hand or swoop it off the driveway or the park or the playground at the school. Okay. The beauty of this, and the picture shows a player with a glove. You don't have to have the players have a glove. We're using a tennis ball. When I was young, we used to use a rubber ball called a Spalding. All right. And remember, an important concept that you want to teach your players in T-ball too, that you actually really teaching them here is you want them to keep the ball in front of you. It's more important that they stop the ball in front of them than catch the ball, because as they get older, 10, 11, 12, 13, you're going to be reinforcing to the kids that if they keep the ball in front of them, either at shortstop, third base, or second base, you could still make a play at first base. We don't want the kids to give up. In fact, for older kids, I have a drill, and part of the drill, it's actually called the third base drill, where I line the kids up at third base. I hit ground balls. They have to rotate in a different position. I give them 4 or 5 chances, but on the last chance, I yell out bobble drill. And what I tell them to do is they pick up the ball with the glove, and then they have to drop it, pick up the ball that's dropped on the dirt, and then throw it to first. And what I'm doing here is I'm conditioning kids not to give up on a baseball just because they didn't catch it cleanly. Some of the best plays you see on Major League Baseball highlights are balls that are stopped by infielders where they pick it up and they make a wonderful throw to first base to get the out. Okay, so again, this is what I call the one bounce, two bounce. You could, by the way, I always say, any time that you want to change any one of my drills, you think it'll make it better, by all means, go ahead. Okay, there's no exclusivity on drills or having fun. I'm giving you the basis of what has worked for me for years, and I love creating drills. And I want to emphasize to you, try to be as creative as you could if you're just getting into coaches. And you don't have to go out to the sporting goods store and spend hundreds of dollars. You have items in your garage and up in your attic, household items where you could create drills. In T-ball, I have a drill which I created where I tell parents or coaches, take the recycling box you have, okay? We all have one of the blue boxes we keep in our apartment, our garage, whatever. Take out all the sharp items, okay? Then take the recycling items that are left and have your players hit it off the batting tee. So you have like a 1 gallon milk carton container or detergent. Kids love this, and they are hitting something they're familiar with that we have taught them where to put it when we're done. And that's the recycle drill. Okay. As far as an advanced drill, and by the way, I just want to mention too, if you're getting into coaching T-ball or any sport, for the youngest kids, you want to make it as uncompetitive as possible. And what I like to tell parents, think of yourself as a 40% phys ed teacher, 60% coach. All right. And you want to combine that. And by that, what I mean is you want to have drills and maybe put a baseball or softball theme in it. For instance, take a relay race, but instead of just running around the cones, have the players hold 2 baseballs in their glove, run around the cones, and they have to take out the baseballs and pass it to the next one in line. Have a game of red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, same thing. They got to have a baseball in their glove when they're playing the game. All right. Think in terms of that you're a combination phys ed teacher, coach. There are plenty of resources that are around that you could have use all these drills. You shouldn't have any problem. You go to the library, there are plenty of books. You go online, there are plenty of videos that you could just look at and you could recreate from that drill a better drill. Another hint I just want to give you before I have the last drill too. When you have your team, what I used to do is, and I did it for batting practice, the first player that came to practice, he'd be number 1, second player, number 2, and so on. And that's the order I would have my team take batting practice. And what you're going to see is players will really make an effort with their parents to arrive at practice first. Now, for pre-T-ball and T-ball, you're not going to really have batting practice like you do for 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds. But you're getting them in the habit. And I'll tell you what happened. I had parents come to me and say that, I don't think it's fair that you give kids the numbers. It's so hard for me to get there because it's just getting out of piano lessons or karate lessons or whatever. And I stuck to my guns. I said, listen, that's the way I run it. Okay. I give the players that arrive first the lowest numbers. And that's the way I run practice. What you see over a period of the year or maybe the next year after on your team is parents will begin to adjust their schedule around your baseball or softball practice, okay? Rather than trying to compete with it. And they'll tell the piano teacher or the karate teacher that they have to do it at a different time. Here's a drill that I did in my backyard. It was so popular with my kids, I took it on the field. It's called the tennis racket hitting drill. What I did is I took a 4-inch cinder block. Now, don't go out and buy one. If you have an 8-inch lying around under your deck, you could use that. All right. And it's a great introduction to hitting a ball that's moving. You take an old tennis racket, you bounce a tennis ball up. Now, this isn't showing the ball going straight up. You should go straight up, and the player will swing and hit it. And my kids loved it. Now, for 3 or 4-year-old kids, this is kind of a little advanced, but keep this drill in mind. And the beauty of this drill, the biggest benefit, you're almost guaranteed assured success for a young player to hit a moving object. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. That's this session now. Now, as far as products, people are always asking me, excuse me, let me grab a couple. Okay, this and this. I'll just go through this very quickly. These are all available at Amazon. I don't want you to spend money you don't have. Go to your local library reference desk. They're going to balk at first because all my books are self-published. But if you insist, they could get it. Try this book, T-Ball Drills. I have 110 drills fully explained. When you begin to coach, you'll use this throughout the year. I guarantee it. Another book with T-Ball Skills and Drills has a lot of different pictures. Again, don't go out and buy it if you don't have the money. go to your local library. And here's a book. If you're going to be coaching a long time, this is one book that I highly recommend you purchase because you're going to use it for years. It's called Baseball Coaching: A Guide for the Youth Coach and Parent. It has over 60 sample practices. And what I did is I did a lot of work on this and I encourage you also buy the ebook. With the 60 sample practices on the ebook, each drill, I have a live link. So if you go through the practices and you're not sure, you click it, and it'll take you right to the drill to explain it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. If you could, please give me a thumbs up, write a comment if you could, and please subscribe. Let your league know about this session, or let them know about the YouTube channel, Schupak Sports. And I'm going to wrap it up. And until next time, I'll meet you at third base.